Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to be speaking to Fred Wagenvoorde, a fellow long hauler who is South African but now living in the US. And Fred has been battling long COVID for a year and a half now. So I caught up with him to hear a bit about his story and what he's doing to get better. And I hope you're able to take something from our conversation.
Hi Fred, thanks so much for joining us. This is going to be a first in our long COVID diaries series. And yeah, just introduce yourself and just share a bit of background.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on your channel. It's truly appreciated that you're wanting to get the word out there. So it's a good thing that everyone gets the experience from someone else's side perspective. So my name's Fred. I got long COVID. I was diagnosed with long COVID in September 2022. I didn't know I had long COVID prior to that. So I might have had it for a couple of months before that, and with lingering symptoms that I kind of brushed off and continued with my general lifestyle until I one day was sitting down and I thought I was having a heart attack. So I landed up, my wife, Tanya, took me to the hospital, rushed me to the hospital, and it turns out it was just a diagnosed heart arrhythmia. But then straight after that, I started getting heart palpitations, feeling absolutely drained of energy. I couldn't concentrate. So everything just hit me like a ton of bricks out of nowhere. It could have been partially part of my anxiety at the time, because I was literally sitting down and suddenly my heart rate was sitting at 180. And I don't know why it was sitting there. This is not something that's never happened to me before. So I got diagnosed, and I've been dealing with long COVID since.
Wow. And tell me, was this an acute affection of COVID that you had, or did you find it was more like later after getting a vaccine that you just started having these random symptoms?
So this was more apparent. The symptoms to me were more apparent after the third infection that I had for COVID. I did have both
third, sorry.
Yeah, third. So I got COVID in December 2020, December 2021, and then I went on honeymoon in June, July 2022, and that's where towards the end of my honeymoon, I got the third infection. But I did have the vaccines, the two vaccines in September and October 2021.
Wow. Okay. It's interesting. It's almost like I wonder if it's like the particular strain of COVID that all changed something, or if it was a vaccine-related thing that the virus triggered. But what made you feel like you wanted to get the vaccines, even if you've had the virus itself and you've got immunity from that?
Honestly, I didn't actually think critically about it. In hindsight, I do regret getting the vaccines, because if I did a pure historic critical analysis of what actually happened from the day that I actually got the second vaccine, I was feeling pretty drained the next day. And then for a couple of months, or I would say actually weeks before I got it resolved, I was completely drained. I had to nap 2 hours in the day just to recover and continue working, continue doing my usual lifestyle. And then I went for some blood tests, and it turns out my ferritin and my iron levels were pretty low. They were still actually within range, but they were too low for an athlete, according to the doctor. He's a sports doctor, so he said no, it was too low. I think it was something like in the low 30s or something like that. And for me, what I was doing, it needed to be high 100s. So I went for iron injections, and then it flipped. I felt better. But then I got COVID again in December 2021, and then about a week or two after I had recovered, I went back into some training, some riding, running, and it just felt like I had this unbearable burning sensation in my legs. And it was the same sensation that I had when it felt like it was a low iron situation. So I went back to the doctor, and we did the tests again, and the ferritin was actually perfect. There was nothing wrong with the ferritin. Wow. But this is the thing, it was up and down. It wasn't a situation where every single session was having that burning sensation. So I thought maybe I was still trying to recover. I did do a race in December as well, which was I probably got COVID in the race or just after the race, because I started experiencing symptoms after the race. So I thought the combination of the COVID and doing the race was still playing in my system. So I took some time off. But it just wasn't getting right at all.
Yeah. I'm just amazed that you obviously had COVID. You've had COVID 3 times now. That's a lot on the body, I guess. So yeah, I also had 2 Pfizers, and I've also been working through that whole journey of treatment. I think you would have seen my first video. I've done treatment with Dr. Laubscher with the triple therapy and anticoagulants. And I just wanted to ask what you found helpful, if you've explored that option, and what have you been doing, treatment-wise?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a very debatable topic for everyone. One thing that works for me does not necessarily work for you, which has been quite interesting. I mean, I followed forums right from the word go. I jumped onto a call with someone referred me to who actually had long COVID right from the beginning of the pandemic. And she said that there's nothing that's going to help you. You just need to wait it out. Essentially. But I was lucky enough to be living 4 kilometers away from Jaco Loubscher, who's who actually he treated my father-in-law. My father-in-law's had long COVID twice. He's had it twice, and he's recovered within a couple of months, both times.
Wow.
Which I envy so much. And sometimes I wonder what did I do wrong? What's he doing? I mean, sometimes I think I should drink a bottle of wine because he loves to drink wine. Thin
the blood naturally.
Yes, but the thing, and this is the thing, it's whatever worked for him doesn't necessarily work for me. And that's why I also brushed it off, because the symptoms that I was experiencing was completely different to him from his first time. So this is why I went to Jaco first, because Jaco, obviously he does the tests. He does the tests for microclotting and platelet activation, and gives you a rating out of 4. I don't know if that rating is still something that he does do, but the first time that I did see him before I actually got diagnosed with long COVID, I was given a 1 out of 4. He said that my body is fighting, but it's not quite. It's winning to some extent, but it's not to a point where he feels like it's necessary to go on medication on the triple anticoagulant therapy.
Wow. Okay.
But then, unfortunately, I got COVID in July, which threw me completely over the cliff, and that's when I ended up going to him in September 2022 to get the anticoagulant therapy. So I was on that for about 6-7 months. And it helped. It certainly helped to a certain extent. The unfortunate thing was that because it's so new, you couldn't pinpoint when I was going to have this Herxheimer reaction, and then your body starts to slowly start recovering faster. My father-in-law within 24 hours felt different. I only felt different after 5 weeks. So it's different for everyone. I was only getting worse and worse and worse before I eventually started getting better, or starting to feel better, move around. And I was bedridden. I was working in bed for 5 weeks, literally.
Wow.
In terms of other things that I've tried, I've obviously diet is something that's quite important. That I'm generally an advocate that for your body recovering by itself and healing itself, as long as you give it the best opportunity, through and through. Forget about supplements, forget about medication. Have you done everything in your lifestyle, within your household, to make sure that your body can recover as much as possible. And it's not only what you put in your body, it's what you put on your body too. So the type of soap that you put on your body, type of soap that you use or shampoo that you use for your hair, things like that. The water you're drinking, are you drinking toxic water? Things like that. So those are a lot of drastic things that I did change. One of the components on the diet side was that I moved into a blood type diet. So I went to a guy. Went to a guy who believes in the blood type diet and did some tests. And because I was O positive, my type of eating plan was more on the paleo side of things. So a lot of meat, fruits, veg, as natural as possible, which is generally quite intuitive to me because I've always felt good just having those. I don't feel good eating pasta or carbs or anything like that. I actually feel pretty sick. Always when I've eaten it, I've just tolerated it. And so I jumped onto his protocol, which helped to a certain extent. And then it got to a point where I plateaued. There was nothing really that was making any huge momentum in my recovery. And then I came across a lot of people talking about the increase in consumption of meat helping them quite a bit, specifically red meat. And then that led me to a whole lot of other social media profiles, like on the carnivore diets and things like that. And then that's when I decided, I obviously I did my research just to make sure that I'm not putting myself in a more detriment position, because I noticed that what I was eating sometimes was actually affecting me. And even if I was sticking to the blood type diets 100%, I did not deviate 100%. You can ask my wife, she was pulling her hair out because I was so cutthroat about it. My wife, my entire family, my mother-in-law, her partner, everyone was just probably looking at me like, who's this weird guy? Like, what happened? He used to eat everything, and now he's basically eating nothing. So I changed everything drastically. And again, that comes down to the point, if you give your body the opportunity to recover, it will recover. And then I told my wife I want to try the carnivore diet for a week. And it was like a flip switched. Within 2 days, I was sleeping so well and through the night, and the symptoms were dialed down so much that I thought, okay, this is definitely going to be longer than a week. But all being said,
on the carnivore diet.
On the carnivore diet, yeah. So I pretty much I eliminated all vegetables, I eliminated all fruits. I literally ate meat. I had eggs. I did have dairy every now and then, but I did find that some particular types of dairy was affecting me. I couldn't drink milk because the milk is so processed these days. That's anything that you buy from the store. So it was pretty much red meat. So I was consuming. I was probably the spa that was just down my road was probably I was the number one meat consumer there.
So now take me back. You're in South Africa at this point. You've done the anticoagulants for how many months now?
That was I started. That was at that time December, so about 3-4 months.
Okay, and then so you stopped the triple therapy, and then you tried this paleo diet or blood.
No, so I did it all in conjunction. So I did it
together.
All in conjunction.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then okay, wow. And then you've relocated to the States, I believe. So that's why our connection is a little difficult at the moment. But so how have you found it now in the last? I guess it's been a year, almost 2 years now since you've done that treatment.
Yeah. So since diagnosis is about a year and a half, just over a year and a half. I'm at a point in my life where I can do normal daily chores. I can walk around, feel fine. I can work a full entire day. I can study. I've been working and studying probably 15 hours a day. It's still up and down. There's still days where I need to just pace myself and maybe cut it off a little bit earlier. Don't when I start experiencing symptoms, I know that's my body saying, okay, stop. I'll slow down.
Yeah.
But during this time, I have also reintroduced a few other things. I mean, I've reintroduced more dairy into my diet and things like that. I have still stuck away from the vegetables and the fruits. I've also, I mean, I just had a blood panel as part of one of the requirements here to appoint a doctor here in the US. And I saw the results this morning, actually, and it was pristine. There's no issues with it. I mean, there's no indication of heart disease. I mean, I'm no doctor, but from what I, following the forums, following the carnivore doctors, they obviously pinpoint certain aspects that you can look at, I mean, in terms of my lipid panels. So all in all, I'm safe. I'm not going to have a heart attack, even if my cholesterol shows that I'm But look, I'm still experiencing symptoms. I'm always going to be experiencing symptoms, depending on how hard I push myself.
So you're not back at an exercise level, I'd say. Sorry to jump in there.
No, not yet. I don't necessarily feel completely comfortable with that because I'm experiencing a lot of neurological symptoms as well. So one of the biggest symptoms that started with me and still continues with me is vibrations. So there's continuous vibrations in my body. Which
like shivers or?
No, it's so. Have you ever put your hand on a speaker, on like quite a loud amp speaker?
Yes, and you got the sound waves. So
Yes. Now imagine that going through your entire body.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
So I believe a lot of my issues now stem from neurological issues. Whether I get them sorted out or whether I wait, I'm more on the waiting train because I can go and spend money on a doctor and they can tell me what they think, but it's not going to be definitive. It's probably not going to give me any direction either. I've spent thousands of rands on this, including supplements. I can tell you through and through, supplements have not been helpful at all. It's only been the triple anticoagulants that have helped me to a certain extent. And there's another medication that Yaku's actually put me on now, which is sulodexide, which is another...
Yes, that's incredible.
That's another anticoagulant, but it fixes... So it's not really a blood thinner, it's a endothelium wall repairer, in simple terms.
Yes. That's incredible that you mentioned that. Sorry, that he actually phoned. We had a call today. Just quickly, I did some tests to check my antibodies levels, and they're still very high, which means there is a theory that it's a vaccine injury. They can't prove it, obviously, versus vaccine versus infection, like acute infection. But he says the antibodies are high, that almost suggesting that my body is producing spikes still. And he mentioned the sulodexide, but I don't think it's available in South Africa yet, which is challenging. So
I had to get mine. I had to get mine from Italy. So
wow.
You can see how much of a mission and how determined I am to get resolved. But the only reason why I went that direction was because it was my last resort. And Yaku truly believed in, and I trust his opinion. I mean, there's a lot of things that I said, should I do? And he said, no, it's not going to help. It's sulodexide. It's my last saving grace, and I've been on it for probably 5 weeks now. I am still somewhat normal, so nothing's particularly changed on the neural side. But you were talking about the antibodies. He said that I must go through the course and then get that specific antibody test done after the course is done, and then see if my body's producing the spike protein and causing the consistent issues. If that is the case, I believe that there's certain medication that you can get to stop the spike protein production, but that's the next step on his plan.
Yeah. I'm just thinking it's really frustrating. It's like we're treating the blood, we're getting rid of the microclots and all the gunk and stuff, but if the body's still producing the spike and there is some kind of vaccine injury way, I guess what's the right way to say it? Like a viral persistence is the term people are putting out there. I don't know if that's true, but yeah, it's quite frustrating. I also come from cycling, and I was doing the cycle tour March 2022, felt fine. And this is post 2 vaccines, which I understand. It's 4 months after my second Pfizer. And then I guess at the end of that month, I got the acute COVID, and from there, my body just went downhill fast. Missing days of work, I thought it was some kind of chronic fatigue thing, and that's all in the video. But I totally relate to the journey you've been on, and probably a bit longer. I guess you said your heart kind of what felt like a heart attack was what date? That was 2022.
September 2022.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
But look, I mean, one of the things that Jaco did tell me is that, because he looked at everything. I mean, I landed up in hospital because they couldn't figure out what it was, and the last resort was long COVID, and that's where Jaco came around and did the tests and said, "You've got long COVID. This is going to be a brutal experience. You are going to feel like you are having a heart attack, but you are not having a heart attack because your body is pristine in terms of every other panel." And then this is the frustrating part, that you can go to all the doctors out there. They can do a panel and give you the green light to continue training. And that's what I did. I continued following the guidance of doctors, giving me the green light on basic panels, blood panels. And those do not work. If you are not feeling right, don't shrug it off as anxiety. It's not anxiety. It's something's happening to you. I wouldn't stop finding the answer at all. But also, the problem is that we are very still quite early into this long COVID experience for a lot of people. 4 years, it seemed like long for those that are experiencing it, but from a science point of view, it's very short term at the moment. People are scrambling to try and find answers, and everyone has an answer for something. But what is the actual answer? I mean, it might be multifaceted, and will be, I think, one of the things historically that's going to completely stump everyone down the line.
Apologies, I have some dogs in the garden.
That's fine.
I think that's a really great perspective to have. It's realizing science is it's very short in scientific terms, but to us it's if you've been sleeping and been in bed most weekends for 2 years or most of the week as well, it's feels like it's been most of your life, and will you ever get out of this? Have you, when you say neurological kind of struggle, you mean more like thinking, processing things?
So I mean, the one is the vibrations part, and I've been trying to do some of my own research on it. Apparently, it's just a response of the neural network or something like that, potentially causing it. I'm not 100% sure, but I definitely do. Sometimes my concentration lapses, but not so significantly. The brain fog comes on when my body is tired, when I am tired, when I've pushed maybe too much. I mean, the one thing is that you can't look at it on only a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis. You need to look at it on an hour-to-hour basis, and that's what I've been doing. Saying, what am I doing? Making sure that I'm not doing too much in one given period, because it also it builds up the system to the point where you crash. So. And again, everyone's experience is different. Everyone has a different tolerance. I've written exams with brain fog, with concentration issues, with the vibrating, literally at what feels unbearable, and I could bear it only just because. I mean, it's in those situations it becomes mind over matter, but also, I mean, the effect after is almost intolerable. You basically get, when you finish an exam, all you're doing is recovering for 2 weeks after, because now you've just absolutely smashed yourself from everything. So right now, for me, the neurological symptoms, something that still affects me. I still get my feet go purple sometimes. when I'm sitting too much.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
which is a bit of a circulation indication, I think.
Yes.
And yeah, sometimes I get these muscle twitches. I get them in my neck sometimes. It's just, it's small little things that happen here and there. One of the biggest things that I have not been able to find out yet, which I think is more something that's more in my mind a lot, is the effect of my diaphragm on my system. So sometimes I feel like something gets stuck in, like literally, if I drink water, for instance, and it feels like there's a bubble or something that gets stuck in my body, and the only way I can release it is not effectively by forcing a burp, but by almost moving my diaphragm. So actually moving my rib cage out so that the diaphragm can settle down, and then suddenly everything releases, and even my chest releases and everything like that. So it's these odd little symptoms which, I can't find anything about it. No one can tell me what it is, why it's happening. I have asked Yaku, and Yaku focuses on the blood vessels, more specifically, fix the blood vessels, everything else will stop. That's the kind of diet or treatment in that direction. So I'm hoping over time, it definitely has dialed down quite substantially, but it's still there, still persistent. So for me, I think mine is actually just all about time. I've done everything I can from a nutrient perspective, sleep perspective. I'm making sure that I'm getting not 8 hours, but 9 hours of sleep a night. So sleep's very important. And I know that there's going to be days where even if I check all those boxes, that something's going to come and hit me from the side that I would never have seen. Those days do happen. Those days do happen.
Sure. So September 2022. So that's almost 2 years, I guess, that you've had this now.
A year and a half.
Year and a half. Okay. Sure.
So that from diagnosis, I would say that I started experiencing some symptoms actually just after the second vaccine, but there were minor symptoms, nothing that was really inhibiting me from a daily life. I was still riding 200 kilometers on a weekend, doing some hard riding and some hard running and feeling fine. There were times certainly where it was not worrying in the sense, but there were indications that something was not right. But all those indications, I kept on going for blood panels and they kept on coming back pristine.
Fine.
So I kept on thinking, okay, it's something in my head, I must just get over it. But that was certainly not the case.
I find such a tension for me, it's trying to know what the cause is. We've got this disease now and it's obviously frustrating, but it's like, was it your 2 Pfizers plus the third infection? Was it just third infection? Was it the 2 Pfizers? And we don't know. And I've had people say to me that, it's definitely vaccines, which in my case, it might be an injury of sorts. But I've also met firsthand people who have long COVID who just got an acute infection. They never touched the vaccine. They were very I wouldn't say anti-vax. They were just like, no, I don't need that. I don't get anything. And it's just hard trying to dissect what the root cause is, I guess. So right now,
So, it's not something that, you mentioned about what is the root cause. I don't, from my perspective, I don't know what the root cause is. I'm not going to imagine telling anyone on this channel what it is at all. On this video. But one of the consistent things that I've seen across on all blogs, anyone that's mentioned anything about long COVID or their experience with long COVID, what happened at that time that they had COVID. And the biggest thing is stress, right? So and stress from all aspects, whether it's work, lack of sleep, too much training, a whole lot of factors. And if your body's built up a high amount of systemic inflammation that it hasn't cleared out or settled on, and you get COVID, you're just layering that cake, right? And to the point where that tower is way too high, and then it overflows.
Collapses, I like that.
So, and that's kind of the thing that I've noticed consistently when I've been reading on a lot of the forums of people's experiences, and including my own experience. I mean, like I told you, I was riding and I continued riding, and then I got COVID for the third time, which was the most mild experience I've ever had. I was in bed for 24 hours and I was fine the next day. I thought, okay, I actually probably had like my minor flu experience or something like that. So did my wife. We both recovered. We both flew back home, and then I started experiencing a few odd symptoms coming about. And that's when I started the whole journey of getting blood panels and everything done, and everything came back green, and then I kept on with my lifestyle. And I think that was probably not the best way of approaching it for myself. But again, when you believe and trust the doctors to give you the right answer, and you ask them the actual question here, can I go and ride? And if they say yes, you are going to go and ride.
I agree.
You're not going to stop your life. That's the thing. And unfortunately, it led to me getting long COVID.
Sorry, I wanted to go back to the first, so September 2021. No, I lied. September 2022 is when you had the heart kind of palpitations. Did they mention myocarditis, like the inflammation? Was that what was happening, or was it something else?
No, it was something else. It wasn't myocarditis. It wasn't pericarditis. I actually had a CT scan done on my heart because I assumed that there was something wrong with my heart, the way I was feeling and things like that. And that was actually so that was in August of 2022. And that was about 2 weeks before I actually had been diagnosed with long COVID. And everything was clear. It was pristine. I went to a cardiologist. He said, "You are in impeccable condition. You're going to live to 120. I thought, okay, that's great. So I'm going to have now a financial issue that I need to think ahead of. And then a couple of weeks later, just had this heart arrhythmia, which is pretty standard. Yeah, it's a pretty standard experience, I think, for long COVID. Every now and then, I still experience some heart palpitations here and there. But they don't affect me. They used to give me a bit of a fright because they just come out of nowhere. There's no build up to it, or no indication that one's going to happen. It just gives you a bit of a fright. It feels like your heart is going to pump out your chest for just like 1 or 2 beats, and then settle. But they've dialed down. I mean, the carnivore diets certainly helped substantially with a lot of the symptoms that I experienced, and I could list over 50 symptoms that I experienced. Some of the most odd symptoms that made my wife laugh at me because of the symptoms that I was experiencing. So, but right now, I think my biggest one that I'm working on now is my neurological symptoms.
That's incredible. Thanks for sharing, Fred. When you said the heart arrhythmia, is that the beat like not constant, like it's like an alternating beat, or it skips a beat? Is that what you mean by that? So I'm not a medical doctor at all. So
no, not me neither. So I mean that is what I was diagnosed when I went to the ER for the first time. They said it was a cardiac arrhythmia, but apparently that was just a significant heart palpitation that caused my heart rate to spike.
Got you.
What generally happens is because, and this is from Yaku's perspective, and forgive me, Yaku, if you're watching this, if I don't get this right, but everything, your endothelium helps with the balance in your body, the balance between oxygen and CO2, the balance between the blood pressure being high and low, a whole lot of things. And that's why he's always saying, fix the blood vessels. Blood vessels are the problem. The problem here that you need to try and fix. And it doesn't help having all these microclots flowing through your system, and because it's only going to make your blood vessels worse. So that's where the anticoagulant therapy comes in. And so for me, what was significant is that if my blood pressure dropped very quickly, my heart rate, your heart is meant to try and reverse that as quickly as possible. And the only way you can do that is pump harder and faster. So I must have had a sudden drop in blood pressure that I didn't feel hold on or anything like that, and suddenly my heart rate went off. It could also have been a neurological thing. So again, you have the vagus nerve that tracks right down to all your organs. And
I've heard some theories on that,
Yeah, that could have also had an effect, but don't quite know. That sort of situation hasn't happened again. I've had situations where during the nights I would wake up at 3 a.m. and my heart rate is through the roof and feels like it's in my throat. That I felt for the first couple of months of the experience, but over time, most of those symptoms went away. Every now and then I still get a heart palpitation. What that is from, I don't know. It could be just from maybe doing too much in the day. I generally tend to get them more in the early evening, late afternoon time, which is interesting. And that's at the end of the day, sort of end of the day, working day for me. So it could be that I've maybe exerted myself a little bit too much, but then there's been days where I've exerted myself even more and never had a single palpitation. So it's an up and down. It's not certainly not a linear trend or a linear experience.
Yeah. I haven't experienced the heart palpitations at all. My main symptoms are obviously the horrible fatigue, where it feels like you got all these weights holding your body down. Even after a full night's rest, I'm in bed the whole day, probably till 5, 6 in the evening. And then you wake up and it's like, okay, I need to eat something. I need to take meds, And then also body aches and headaches. On the days I have the flat day, I get these massive, almost migraine levels, but I don't think I've ever had a serious migraine. But then you're like, oh, I need to find some Panado or maybe some Miprodol, something that's, I guess I've tried to avoid the extra blood thinning on top of the blood thinners, I guess. But do you have any body aches? Almost like you've run a marathon or cycled a tour and you've got that lactic acid in your muscles. Do you experience any of that?
Funny enough, not. Every now and then, maybe at some points in my joints, maybe my shoulders, my neck feels a bit achy, but nothing to the extent that I've heard and seen and what you've just said. But I mean, the feeling of a substantial amount of weight on my shoulders, yes, I've definitely felt that. It feels like my legs are heavy, but not sore. It just feels like I'm dragging. So I've certainly had that experience.
So tell me, you mentioned these 12, 15-hour days. So I gather you're working a full-time job as well as studying on top of that.
Yeah, so I'm in finance. I work personal. I'm a personal advisor for a company in Kenworth, and I also consult to an accounting firm to do advisory there. And on top of that, I'm studying for CFA Level 2, which I'm due to write in August. And cumulatively, all of that in one day packed, you need to be working 12 plus hours in a day.
That's a lot.
I've always been a morning person, so waking up at 6 o'clock to start my day has been the standard, so that I can stop working by 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. And then I'm basically, my mission is to wind down after that and make sure that I start my so-called sleep routine. So I'm always on a constant routine so that I'm not giving my body some sort of hurdle to jump over. I mean, that doesn't happen every single day. I mean, there's days where I stop at 5, there's days where it's not as consistent, and it really depends on what my experience is of symptom-wise, etc. 2 weeks ago, I experienced 3 days back to back where I could barely do any work, any studying or anything like that. But I managed to get the most priority-based items out the way. And it all comes down to planning. I've been more productive only because I've planned ahead and know exactly what I can do and what I can't do. And if there's something that I'm not going to tick off, I'm not going to push myself to do that. I mean, the old me would have done that, probably to my detriment. The new me says, plan ahead, tick the most priority boxes, label them at the top, and work your way down, and take it from there. Anything below a particular margin, irrelevant. If you get it done, great. If you don't, it's tomorrow's problem.
Wow.
So pacing is
it's
massive
yeah
to recovery.
yeah. It's the funniest thing. You think it's because of old age, but I mean, I'm only 32. I imagine you're in your 30s as well.
Yeah, 33.
But okay, so we're very close. But a friend of mine has long COVID as well, and we literally had this like funny joke, almost like we have to choose one event of the whole weekend to like, okay, I'm gonna miss this event and that event so I can go to that event, and it's frustrating, man. And I'm a social butterfly, so I really miss people, and it's hard having to make those choices. Like, sorry, I've got to miss your birthday so I can do a family dinner, or Pacing is what I'm learning a lot about the pacing term and what that means, I guess. Yeah.
What's I mean, I can tell you a few funny experiences that I had. I've been to a few weddings since, and I can tell you right now, emotion plays a huge role in how you experience your symptoms. Whether you're happy, whether you're sad, or anything like that. I mean, when you watch that bride walk down the aisle and you just have a flood of emotions come over you so quickly because you're so happy for them, that actually sends my blood pressure down. I literally have to sit down. I can't stand anymore.
Wow.
And then my heart rate shoots up. So some funny, weird experiences. I mean, I've always been there. I mean, you can go to a lot of my best friends and they can say that I'm the non-emotional person in the group. But that's certainly been quite an interesting experience, especially when you don't plan on subconsciously or consciously, you don't plan on that happening. You have a happy emotion, but that happy emotion creates a whole cascade of events within your system internally, which has been quite a fascinating experience.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I mean, one of the weddings I went to about 2 years ago, before I knew it was long COVID, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was some kind of chronic fatigue, but I literally fell asleep in the ceremony, and then at the reception, I found a bed at someone's house that they were having the reception at, and I just passed out for like an hour, and my girlfriend had to come find me later. And I was like something's like wrong with my body. Like, I don't know what it is, but something's really wrong. But yeah, I totally relate to like the funny stories and different events and things. Fred, I think that's such a good amount of content for now, and would love to have you back again sometime, maybe in a couple months, and maybe just to touch on now. So you're just doing the sulodexide currently to help heal the endothelium. Okay, amazing. I'm hoping to get my hold of it somehow. I know Yaku's been trying to procure it through Mediclinic for a while now, but I think it's difficult with obviously like legal requirements, and I don't know if it's the FDA, but we have all those things like hoops you've got to jump through to sign things off and get supplied and approved and everything.
From what I gather is that country is not going to bring in a particular drug that they actually have that suits a particular purpose when they actually have a drug that does that already. Right? It just, I think from an import point of view, it doesn't make sense to them. But from a physician to a physician, in Yaku's perspective, he obviously doesn't believe that any other drug is going to fit the purpose that he wants than sulodexide. So this is why, I mean, and the thing is, you could, in the grand scheme of things, and there could be a small, minute amount of population sample size that requires this drug compared to the entire population. So would the government, whoever brings in the drugs, would they make an effort to bring it in? Possibly not. It doesn't suit the majority or the majority market, but only a small percentage. Why should they go through that whole effort? But certainly. I mean, I can't say definitively that it is doing me a lot of justice yet. I need to give it 6 weeks at least. So I'm giving it another week, and then I'll have a conversation with Yaku and say, okay, this is where I'm at. And take it from there. And I'm taking a nattokinase supplement with it, just to give it a bit of an extra blood thinning aspect to it. And that's pretty much it. And then I take magnesium during the day and at night for particular purposes. And those are the only supplements I would say that have done a difference for me. Every other supplement has probably been more of a waste of money for me, but for the next person, it could derive justice for them.
Yeah. My mom and girlfriend were joking the other night at dinner that they're gonna have some kind of like yard sale and like put all my supplements and medications that I've got in my bathroom up for sale, and they'll make a couple of grand or something. It's ridiculous. Like you're trying every little thing, and I'm sure there are benefits, but with the blood being so clotted and whatever's happened in our bodies is like almost so damaged, it's hard to figure out what's actually helping, but I'd say definitely I've been on the anticoagulants triple therapy for 7 months now, and I'm definitely noticing improvement. The best thing is that my parents have said to me firsthand, said, hey Chris, like we know that you still struggle with your body aches and there's pains in your heart, your chest, all over your body, and you're having your fatigue moments now and then, but we're seeing a difference. Like cognitively, your speech is better, like the way you're thinking and just the way you come across seems a lot better than it was, say, 6 months ago, which is encouraging for me, even though I don't feel 100% and I can't cycle yet. I can do light walks around the block, but that's about it. But anyway, thank you so much for sharing a bit of your story, Fred. I'd love to have you back again, as I said, and all the best for your treatment, and keep in touch. We'll chat regarding your antibody tests and hopefully catch up in the future soon.
Great. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks so much for listening to my conversation with Fred. I hope you were able to take some encouragement from the discussion, and I really hope that it gives you some hope as you're battling this illness if you have long COVID or something similar. And please feel free to subscribe and comment below if you found something helpful. And also feel free to get in touch if you'd like to share your story. I'd love to hear from you and connect with you.